It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and we're finally heading into the last month of 2002. December 6th, 2002 to be exact, with four movies in particular to look at. Some notable films, some good ones, some not so good ones, and ones that I think are completely overrated. Let's go ahead and get to it. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro reuniting once again in Analyze That. So yeah, if you were a successful comedy from Warner Brothers in the last 5 years, over the next couple of years, you're getting a sequel. Like they didn't even telling you, do you have a script for a sequel? They were just like, come here, you were hit a couple years ago, you're coming in here and making a sequel, whether you like it or not. Because this is exactly the type of a sequel that you get when your first movie is an unexpected hit and they ask you for a sequel, and your only choice is to just rehash what you did with the last movie, because let me tell you something, this is the exact same movie as Analyze This. You have Robert De Niro as Paul Vitti, who's back in prison and will need some serious counseling when he gets out. Naturally, he returns to his analyst, Dr. Van Sobel, played by Billy Crystal, for help, and finds that Sobel needs some serious help himself as he has inherited the family practice, as well as an excess stock of stress. So yeah, Ben says in the original Analyze This that Paul's character was sentenced to 18 months or 1.5 years. So it's now 2.5 years, and that should tell you everything you need to know about how much they did not give a crap about this movie, because, oh my god, this may be one of the worst things that Harold Ramis has ever directed, and this is a guy whose directorial career ended with Year fucking One, and Year One is a terrible movie, and this is probably well up there with that film. And you wouldn't think that on paper, but there's literally no reason to do a sequel to this movie. No reason at all. It's literally it's the literal definition of a bad comedy sequel, where they say, we have nothing else, let's just rehash the first movie again, let's dumb down the characters again so they can be back where they were at the beginning of the first movie, and let's just redo it all over again, because we clearly don't have anything else left, and somebody out there demanded another movie to this, even though we didn't really, but Warner Brothers certainly wanted it. We're going to get to that point where Warner Brothers has all these sequels coming out that did not become big hits and felt like unnecessary sequels to films that were either decent hits or hits where you could stop at one film and then no problems whatsoever. But nope. Keep chugging them out, because, believe me, this is the first of several sequels we're going to be getting to over the next couple of years. And, yeah, not much more to say about this movie. It's just a terrible film. It's not funny whatsoever. It's a bland movie. Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro are struggling to keep this together. Like, it tells you something when Father's Day with Robin Williams was a better Billy Crystal movie than this, and that movie is terrible. Hell, I'd rather watch My Giant again than Analyze That. That's how bad this movie is. Like, it's nothing but a rehash. It's a lazy rehash. One of the worst comedy sequels of all time. A completely unnecessary film. Just a terrible film on so many different levels. I have nothing else more to say about this film. This is a terrible film. Analyze That. Just avoid it like the plague. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Empire. Speaking of movies that are horrible retreads, let's try to remake Scarface and Goodfellas for a new generation. And let's sell the movie on the fact that it's different from Scarface or Blood In or Blood Out or Goodfellas, because those movies weren't directed by Latinos. And since I'm the guy that's going to direct this movie, I can use that as an excuse. I'm not even kidding. That's literally the excuse this director used for this film that is literally just a knockoff of everything I just mentioned. You have John Leguizamo as a big-time drug dealer who's looking to get out of the game and sees his chance with a big deal, and a new friend who happens to be a Wall Street stockbroker. Thinking that this will be his chance to go out on top, Victor soon finds out that he's been double-crossed, and his last option is to get revenge. And, it doesn't really help your case if you're John Leguizamo to train for the part where you actually have to go hang out with drug dealers and gangsters for a few days, and they tell you how to spot surveillance vans and deal drugs. Like, that's something that he literally had to do for this particular movie, and it's just like, why did you even need to do that? I mean, it's not that hard to play a drug dealer. I mean, Al Pacino didn't have to go out that far to do that in Scarface. Like, you know, Martin Scorsese didn't have to do that with any of the people involved in Goodfellas. Tell the actors to go out and do drug deals with real drug dealers, and then we'll put it together here. But no, you didn't have to go to those extreme levels. And especially if you're a director like this guy who's never directed anything before this, and you're gonna come in and try to sell the movie because of your ethnicity. And it's just like, you still got to make a good movie, dude. And this just is not. It's like it's like, here's the thing about this movie. So Scarface was about 3 hours long. It's an epic movie. It's an epic movie about a drug dealer who's living the American dream. This thing is 90 minutes long, and this thing is like, it's like half a movie. It's quite literally half a movie. Like, it doesn't feel like anything about this movie is worth it, because they're just speeding along and everything. It's just like, can we get through let's get through the basics, okay? Here's this guy. Let's have him at the top of his game. Let's have him at his eventual downfall. Okay, we got to kill him off because it's because we just have to do it. It's just like, what's the point? Like, what was the entire purpose of this whole movie to begin with if you're only going to be in this for an hour and a half? And it would help if you had a good story, if you had something interesting there, and didn't waste your cast here, because there's good talent involved in here. John Leguizamo's a good actor. You know, Peter Skarsgård, Denise Richards, Sonia Braga, Isabella Rossellini. There's good talent involved in here, but it's just not there. It's a movie that is just a lazy, put-together film. Like, someone wanted to get a movie out there as quickly as they can, and this was their effort at it. Just like, it just didn't work. It's a terrible, terrible film. A huge disappointment considering the people involved, and just a lazy film in general. So that is Empire. So let's go ahead and boil some hot takes here, because I really don't like Equilibrium. Everyone seems to like this movie. It didn't do gangbuster business at the box office, nor was it a critical success. But it did eventually go on to have a cult following, and it's safe to say that I'm not part of that cult, because I freaking hate this movie, man. You have Christian Bale as John Preston, who's an enforcement officer in the future in which feelings and artistic expression are outlawed, and a society where its citizens are forced to take psychoactive drugs to suppress emotions. After accidentally missing a dose, Preston awakens and begins to uncover the suspicious inner workings of the regime governing the totalitarian state. And that plot alone can pretty much tell you everything that is wrong with this movie. This film is so stupid in how it's presented. It's a film that is so lazy, and it's a film that a lot of science fiction films, original sci-fi films, struggle to get across their heads here. Like, you want to create something original, that's fine. You want to take inspiration from stuff like Blade Runner and stuff like Aliens, you want to do that kind of stuff, that's fine. Don't be a knockoff of all those movies together. Like, this is a film that is so lazy. I mean, just that premise alone. You miss one dose of the psychoactive drug, and then all of a sudden, your suppressed emotions are just gone. Like, you know, life doesn't really work that way, guys. Like, medicine does not really work that way. If you miss one dosage, I mean, unless it's like a severe injury or serious injury or something, serious disease or something like that, missing one dosage of this is not going to kill you in the long run here. Now, I say that, and I probably am getting my information completely wrong on this, but just in the sake of this movie, for this movie's sake, I'm saying that this whole concept of missing one dosage of this stuff, and all of a sudden you just start to have this huge awakening. It's just like that's just one of the stupidest things ever. It doesn't help that everybody else in this movie is either A, overacting their asses off, B, are obnoxious characters, C, are cliches you can see coming a mile away, or D, everyone in here is just an idiot. Everyone here is stupid. Everyone in this movie makes no sense whatsoever. Nothing about this movie makes any sense whatsoever. And, you know, the whole thing about being a sense offender, sense offender, as they call it in this movie, it doesn't make any sense when you realize that Christian Bale had a kid in this movie. So if there's no emotions, there's no feelings whatsoever, how does he have kids? How was he able to have? How was he able to be married? Like, how is anybody supposed to do anything else in here if you don't have any feelings or any ways of expressing those feelings? It's just like, I mean, things like this need to be thought of in the writing process here, guys. And I don't know. It's just, I don't get why people love this movie. I mean, there are people that go crazy for this movie, and if you say it's a bad movie, they immediately lambast you. I mean, that's what happened with Film Brain. Matthew Buck, in one of his early film reviews, when he did an episode of Bad Movie Beatdown and talked about this movie, and it was just like, no, he's absolutely spot on what he's saying, and it's just like, yeah, every single thing he brought up is 100% true with this film, and it's just like, I mean, it doesn't help that, you know, in this world where feelings are outlawed and expressive feelings are outlawed, there's literally a scene where Taye Diggs, the new partner that Christian Bale has, is basically like, he finds out, oh, he's a sex offender. He goes to the city hall and it's just like, he's going over the top, being like, I have brought him for your justice. This guy is feeling like the way I'm feeling, that knowing that I've just found out that this guy is accused this guy for what he's doing. It's just like, dude, hypocrite much? In fact, everybody in this movie is a freaking hypocrite. Everybody, including the main heroes, they're all hypocrites, and it's just like, there's just nothing there. There's just nothing here in this film that makes any sense whatsoever, and it's just ripping off every single sci-fi film it could get its hands on, and it's really just a terrible film. It's a horrible, horrible film. I don't get why people love this movie. This director is terrible because he also made another bad movie a couple years later with Ultraviolet with one of the worst actresses out there, and that is Milla Jovovich, which I've pretty much discussed how much I don't like her as an actress overall. I mean, she's probably a nice person and all, but she cannot act out of a paper bag. I'm sorry, she just cannot. But, yeah, this director is also not a very good director either, so yeah, they probably should have gone with somebody else in general, but, so, not much more to say about this one, and I fully welcome all the criticisms I'm going to get for saying this, but, I hate this movie. I hate Equilibrium so much, so, let's go ahead and end this show on a positive note by taking a look at easily the best movie of the week, and that is Spike Jonze's adaptation. So this is, of course, Spike Jonze's follow-up to Being John Malkovich. It's a meta-comedy about the life of writer Charlie Kaufman. Kaufman-based adaptation of his struggles to adapt Susan Orlean's 1998 nonfiction book, The Orchid Thief, while suffering from writer's block. It includes elements adapted from the book, plus fictional elements, including Kaufman's twin brother, who's also credited as a writer, and here both of them are played by Nicolas Cage, and a romance between Orlean and John LaRoche, played by Chris Cooper. It culminates in a completely inverted events, including versions of Orlean and LaRoche's few years after the events of The Orchid Thief. I wish I could show you the trailer for this, because it's one of the best trailers out there, featuring Freddie Mercury and David Bowie's Under Pressure, and it just shows you everything about what makes this movie so good. It's an amazing follow-up to Kaufman and Jones's Being John Malkovich. Nicolas Cage with two of probably his strongest performances as an actor. I like Leaving Las Vegas a lot, but this is probably a close second for one of my favorite Nicolas Cage movies. I mean, he plays the dual role of the twin brothers very well. You can definitely distance the difference between the two of them, even though they are twin brothers in this. And you just have a great cast in general here. Meryl Streep, Chris Cooper, Judy Greer, Brian Cox, Tilda Swinton, Ron Livingston, Maggie Gyllenhaal. It's a film that just works on so many levels. It's a smart film, a funny film, a film that's very dramatic at times and does it very well. It's well executed on so many different levels. It's a great movie, and a film that I don't think gets the proper attention that it deserves, especially considering that it's from the same people that made one of the best movies of the 90s in Being John Malkovich. But it's a really good film. It's a film I can't recommend enough. If you have not seen adaptation, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. It's easily the best film that came out this weekend, and it's easily the film I can recommend on this show to see. Watch adaptation. So with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. When we meet next time, we'll take a look at 5 more movies, including Jennifer Lopez's new romantic comedy with Ralph Fiennes, Made in Manhattan, the movie that was beaten out by, should have been the #1 film that weekend, Star Trek Nemesis, which essentially killed the Star Trek film franchise as it was at the time. Nick Cannon leading the cast of Drumline, Rob Schneider in The Hot Chick, and Jack Nicholson and Kathy Bates in About Schmidt. 5 films we'll take a look at next time. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.